Hello and welcome to the season 74 G tier championship final between BobMathrotus and StarBoy. And I had a brief look at these players' league history beforehand. Bob has played quite a few seasons, all the way back as far as season 37, then took a big break and is recently back with a couple back-to-back promotions. And this is actually StarBoy's first season in league, so yeah, congrats to them for getting promoted first season. What do we have on this board? We have trashing from rope, which I would probably be opening on the 4-3. Draw will be probably Rabble, payload mainly rice, I would think. Rabble's going to be a lot better once Great Leader activates, assuming it does. And I think it probably will. Like, Ironmonger is pretty good, but it's not a super reliable village, and you definitely do want to be playing with Rabbles. And then in terms of rice, what we're looking at, we got action, attack, treasure, duration, probably Omen if we're playing with Rustic Village. I'm not expecting us to play with Cursed Village, so Doom is not going to come into it. But still, 5 types for rice is pretty good if we can get that. Yeah, Bob unfortunately collided their Rabbles.
Howdy.
Hello, hello. Let me check. I've got the audio balancing right. Can you speak?
Testing, testing. 1, 2.
I think that is hopefully good. Although I'm notoriously bad at that, so we'll find out later. Yeah, nice of you to join me. I've only just noticed, after speaking for a couple minutes, that Starboy's hand is unfortunately hidden.
Oh, did they start early?
They started slightly early.
Aha. This is still game 1.
Yeah. They started like 2 minutes early, and they are playing it quite
How
at
are the
pace.
8 turns in if they started 2 minutes early? Don't you want to look at the kingdom? They know what they want better than I do.
Yeah, sadly, no rustic villages taken yet. Which would
So
be
you got a
nice.
Rabble open versus rope plus ferrying ironmonger. I think the latter sounds better to me.
Yeah, for sure. I like the rope, and Fairy Ironmonger seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Starboy seems to be ahead here with more
Yeah.
Ironmonger and more trashing.
Yeah, for sure I would want to open with the rope. I think like if you ferried Rabble instead of Ironmonger, that would also be fine. The early Ironmonger cost reduction means there's a decent chance of hitting double Ironmonger if you find your rope with 3 coppers.
Yep. Here's a question: do you expect Wedding to get bought in this game? Oh, it seems
Uh,
like Wedding is just.
I, I, I
Did I
was
miss that?
about to say I can't help but notice that one of these players has 1 victory point from somewhere. Uh, I can't imagine a scenario where buying Wedding is correct. Like if you have 7, well then Rice just looks a lot better. If you have 4 or 5, there's good 4s and 5s in the kingdom. Even once Ironmonger is out, like presumably you want a village or a rope or something at some point.
Yeah, I would agree.
So how much is Rice gonna get up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Am I missing any?
It could be
6?
6, but I won't. Yeah,
Yeah.
because no one's gonna get Cursed Village.
I could imagine getting a cursed village if you already had a bunch of rice. Obviously, it's a bit of a necropolis in most hands. But yeah, 5 seems pretty practical.
We do get the first Rustic Village, which just seems like a very good card for a bunch of reasons. So yeah, I'm surprised that that didn't get taken earlier.
I suppose when Ironmonger's around, it makes sense to just click that on 4 if you want a village like $4 card.
Probably needs more draw. Still only 2
That yeah, that
rebels.
looks a little greedy to me. If you're in the lead, I would probably be erring on the side of clicking more draw and more villages, even if it means one less rice. Just because the biggest case for losing is a dud. Oh, and I'm just noticing player 2 hides their hand. Tragic.
Yeah. I never know whether
Well, now
people
I'm
would
rooting for
mind
player 1.
being like pinged to tell them that, because it's a bit of a hassle to change it mid-match.
Yeah.
This is a lot of lowering, but they do score. I don't think they've got enough buys to empty like rice and estate.
So it'd take a minimum of 7 buys to win this turn. Yeah, 6.
I like the extra rabble. Probably another rabble. I would go for.
I say Night Watchman plus Walled Village. How does Rabble interact with Night Watchman? Rabble is going to top deck your Night Watchman, which seems like a bit of a liability.
True. And they did discard cards into the shuffle, so I'm not sure how much benefit that Night Watchman gave. Probably in the lead enough anyway.
I suppose this is just double province, and then you got to hope your opponent has a poor turn.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure we're looking at a very good turn, because this is all of Bob's rabbles.
Ooh. What are those bottom 9 cards? You're going to see 7 of them at a minimum. Maybe there's enough Ironmongers to get something out of that turn.
Yeah, we did play 2 ropes.
Okay, we got an Ironmonger in hand. I mean, I suppose it's hard to say too much about the hand because your opponent's Rabble is going to shuffle your. Or never mind, your opponent's not going to play any Rabbles. But in theory, your deck's going to get shuffled by your opponent playing a bunch of Rabbles, which could top deck good cards or bad cards.
What are your thoughts on triple duchy there?
Did they have 15 exactly?
Yeah.
Then probably that's reasonable.
I was thinking potentially double duchy rabble might be slightly better, because I'm not sure how much the extra 3 points is helping, but maybe it does.
Yeah.
I guess if your opponent doubles, which wasn't very likely, then the extra duchy would help.
Oh, I hate that wedding. that
Yeah.
You're going into debt late in the game, and that's no good. The 1 point's not an important difference maker. I think I would have bought a rustic village there.
Yeah, I would
Oh,
agree.
that's a nasty rabble play. They just flipped 2 rabbles and a rice. Expecting a win this
This is
turn.
feeling like it must be hitting double. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, game 1 to StarBoy.
Yeah, I think the early rope probably made the big difference there. Yeah, Bob
I think
still
both
has
players could
6
have afforded
coppers.
to click draw a little bit more. This kingdom has a lot of stuff going on at 2. Druid is quite good with Will-O-Wisp. Lackeys is quite good always. I've accidentally closed the tab, but I recall there being Faithful Hound with some synergies. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, Faithful Hound works nicely with Rustic Village, and to
Yeah.
some extent with Count. I'm not sure that sees play here. Maybe it does. That is only trashing. Yeah, I guess you take count to trash, and then if you just keep two Faithful Hounds in your deck, you can discard those for free. I got Tomb around.
There's the Sky's Gift with Druids. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, which could help with Legionary.
Oh yeah, that is another one. Yeah, probably do that at least once or twice this game. You can get it and play for free with a Mining Road. Oh, Bob, what are you doing there, Bob? Why do
Oof.
you want a Galleria? That is not correct.
Yeah, and I would say the 5/2 is looking pretty good here, but
Oh, and StarBoy chooses a mine as their first fight. What is going on? So between the two of those, I think. No, I was actually just about to say the opposite. If I had to pick one of those, I would take the mine at least because it's doing something resembling thinning your deck. Galleria, what possible use could that card have?
lets you buy a Rustic Village and lackeys or something.
Uh, but you need to trash your cards.
Yeah,
Uh,
and mine gets Doom
See, the
points.
obvious 5/2 is count in lackeys. I think that is pretty automatic. You could consider maybe a druid if you want to get those wisps early, but for sure count. You want to trash the estates. You get points out of trashing the estates even. And the only card that can trash estates here is your count. Um, Galleria is a card I would not even. I'm not sure there's a context where you'd even contemplate gaining a Galleria this
Yeah, it's
game.
probably the worst
Um,
5 on the board.
Yeah, like Legionary is not good, but at least at some point it'll be worth 4 money instead of 3 money, which I suppose is something. You have plenty of plus buy from other sources, so it's not like you need Galleria for that. Um, an interesting dilemma that these players aren't going to face because they're skipping count is like suppose you have count and a bunch of junk cards in hand. You could top deck one card and then trash your hand, uh, which will get you Bath's points because you wouldn't have gained anything that turn. Or you could just gain a copper to hand and then trash 4 cards instead of 3 cards, which is still getting you 1 point because of Tomb. Would you be willing to take one extra victory point in order to top deck a copper? Maybe. Might depend on the hand.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say probably the extra card of cycling from not top decking something would
Yeah,
probably be my preference. And then the copy you gained, you can
that's
then
probably
trash
right.
it later for another point, potentially.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about
So
how
like there,
much we play. Sorry, how much we play like disappearing money with like mining road, diplomat for draw, or just normal money.
I would expect to play with a mining road or two. I don't know if I would plan on activating diplomat consistently. Like if you have 4 and you're buying a draw card, you could consider diplomat, and maybe in the right hand it activates. But I think you've kind of got to plan on having enough rustic villages to draw your deck. Uh, like if you're playing a Faithful Hound at all, for example, your starting hand is often going to be well over 5 cards, and then you can't count on finding cards that can discard your Faithful Hound early
Yeah,
on in the
that is
turn.
true. Faithful Hand is definitely an anti-synergy there.
Yeah, I think the big limitation of this kingdom for sure is the amount of villages you can play. Snowy Village would be good because there's a lot of like terminal actions you can play at the end of the turn after a Snowy Village. You play your Snowy Village, you play a Count, a Druid, a Legionary, something else, and that's fine. There's a lot of cards that draw cards, but none of them's like all that good at drawing cards. You know, Lackeys is just +1 card, Diplomat as well, Faithful Hound as well. And so I would really like to trash the cards that I don't need out of my deck.
Yep.
Uh, and Count is not good at trashing later in the game. Like, you throw a Count into a deck that's already got a bunch of other stuff in it, and you're going to be forced to trash good cards a lot of the time. It still probably isn't too late. Like, I think if you gave someone else the wheel at this point in time, it probably still will be correct to buy a Count and get off a big mass trash. But it'd be a lot better to do that early.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they have that much in their deck that they wouldn't be able to play before the count. Like couple golds, couple silvers maybe.
Yeah, honestly, like trashing a silver, I wouldn't lose any sleep over that.
So
We
it
got
definitely seems
8
too early to province, but I'm not sure where we
for
go.
sure. I'd probably start with a snowy village. Maybe 2 snowy villages and a lackeys. Uh, I really want lackeys because they're out of villagers, and who knows what's in their starting hand. Dude, diplomat seems okay.
Yeah, probably enough rustic villages to activate them reasonably often.
I also would probably, I'm not sure if it's correct, but I would definitely be trying to play with a druid and gaining a bunch of will-o-wisps. There's a lot of cheap stuff in your deck, especially if you're not trashing your coppers.
Hmm.
And it's non-terminal draw. And also, if you have a druid that collides with other stuff. Field's Gift is a very nice backup boon to have on a druid you otherwise were going to get anyway. Because in a hand where you can't afford to play druid for the Swamp's Gift, you can play it as at least a non-terminal copper, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And Sky's Gift could come up later. Like it's a good it's like a good 3 boons to have there. Sky's Gift in general wouldn't be great, but Faithful Hound's around.
Yeah, and
I would try
potentially
to fit
with
one of
Mining
those in.
Road.
7 money. What are you doing on 7? Still count.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how.
count lackeys would be good. Oh, we do have a count.
Okay, okay. Bob came to their senses. It would have to be pretty late in the game to make count not correct here. Like once you've got a bunch of provinces, maybe, because like even by the time you wanted to score, if you just trashed 10 cards from your hand, you just scored 10 points off of that count.
We do find another rustic village, so we get to activate Diplomat.
Oh, and they got a druid. Bob's really turning over a new leaf this turn.
I would
Are we gonna
play
find
the
that count?
lackeys
Oh,
before
hello.
the rustic village. Just in terms of, yeah, you might. Well, now we have count. We don't really want to cycle the junk, but we might have wanted to.
Yeah. So I'm gonna guess you turn the silver into a gold, and then discard the golds and trash 4 cards.
I like that.
Oh. This is fine too. I like
Yeah,
this order. Just pitch them and draw an extra card to trash.
yeah. I think if
This
you
is
know
one of
you're
those
gonna
hands
draw
that
into
makes
a
you want to
bubble.
lackeys. Still no snowy villages. Seems like a deck that would really want a snowy village or two.
Yeah, it can definitely hold them as well because it's not like it's going to be that difficult to save them until the end of your turn. But I do feel like it's the sort of card that less experienced players might be a bit scared of.
Yeah. Like it can be a tad awkward. You don't want too many of them. I think often one is correct. If it's a particularly important card, I think 2 can be correct, even knowing that the second one is just always going to be a dead card if you draw them both, just to maximize the chance that you find at least one. And, maybe you play it in the middle of your turn and your turn kind of fizzles out, but like you still got 4 extra action plays out of that. You probably had a decently good turn, and it's avoiding the risk of having just a total dud turn in a lot of cases.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the type of hand where you needed to play your snowy village early is probably the type of hand where you would have had a total dud without that snowy village because you didn't have any villages to begin with.
Yeah, especially in this kingdom, there are quite a lot where you have a lot of cantrips, and that can be it can make it a lot worse.
Yeah,
I find.
probably the worst case scenario for a snowy village is a deck full of cantrips because once you play snowy village, all of those are just terminal draw cards. But here, there's not that many of those. It's just the will-o-wisps. I don't think Bob is activating these diplomats most likely, but that's probably fine. Or maybe we're gonna get the hand size small enough to make that happen.
Yeah, we can get there. I don't know if I was gonna say I don't know if we
Oh,
need count. Is there that
I wouldn't
much
have done it that
left?
way. They're playing like Rustic Village's bottom text is mandatory. There are a lot of these cases, like, Rusty Village, if you say no to the discard option, is just like a vanilla village. But if you do choose to pitch cards, you are reducing your hand size, which, can make sense if you need to do it, but is the sort of thing that you don't do without a good reason. Probably pitch the golds and trash one more
Yeah, I
time.
agree.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Obviously, you're passing up a good deal of money now, but
Snowy.
that's the downside of count late.
I would
Yeah,
definitely
Snowy
take the
Village
snowy
looks.
now.
It's either Snowy Village or Lackeys. The case for Lackeys is like next turn specifically. What if you're gonna have a dead hand? Um, but Snowy Village is the. Oh,
Oh, no.
I don't know about that silver. Only one faithful hound has been gained.
And I would say Faithful Hound is not doing that much without villagers as well, because I don't know, like it kind
Well,
of
if you're
helps you
pitching,
discard.
if you pitch two faithful hounds to a rustic village, that's like just plus one card for free.
Yeah. Although
That's
you're
probably the most
minus
obvious
one
usage
card
in this
from
case.
using the filtering, so it's kind of like a kind of well, like a fugitive or something.
No, it works out.
Agony.
One rustic village plus two faithful hounds is equivalent to a
That's true.
lost
Yeah.
city.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought you were talking about one.
Oh, Starboy got a count at some point. They trashed with it? That was their first count play. They trashed two cards.
Quite uninspiring. I think this is definitely Bob's
Yeah,
to lose.
hard to say too much when you can't see their hand. But it feels like if you're adding a count at this stage, you should probably have enough deck control to have a bigger hand and trash a lot more at the same time with it. I'm not sure what was going on Starboy's side to make that not happen.
Yeah, I think
It
again
looks
it
like the
feels like
village is split evenly.
yeah, it feels like Starboy doesn't have that much draw again. Is that true? No, they've got five
Sky's Gift would
diplomats.
not be. I don't like the Sky's Gift one bit. You don't have three cards you want to discard in the first place, and I'm just not even convinced that a gold is a better card than a Will-O-Wisp in this deck. Like, what did they just top deck? I don't think it was anything good.
No.
They pitched gold Count Galleria, and they drew a Count in a Galleria. So
So
there's
there's
two
two
golds on
golds.
top of their deck. That is a recipe for a poor starting hand.
I can see Province here. Province lackeys maybe.
Lackeys looks quite good. Double Lackey. Oh, that Florent Powell's
Oh,
too much,
that's yeah,
probably.
that's
You're
very
behind on
good.
points. Now that you've taken that second diplomat, I'd say no to the lackeys.
Could be Hound Druid.
Yeah, hounds or just Snowy Village. Still, they still don't have one of those.
Oh yeah, true. Who has the
Ooh,
Legionary?
look at that hand. This is the sort of hand that makes you wish you bought a lackeys at some point. Obviously, given that they bought two diplomats, they shouldn't buy lackeys. But I would have just not bought the diplomats, so
So
as to
would you
justify being able to buy
count
lackeys.
and put something on top, or would you discard to have Faithful Hound in your next hand?
I think I like discarding two cards and buying a province, probably.
I can get on
So
board with that.
Faithful Hound and Lackeys are essentially equivalent cards for on-play purposes. So you'd rather just have the Faithful Hound be a free card in your hand than to top deck a Lackeys. You could top deck a Diplomat if you really wanted that on top, but I think I'd just rather have a six-card starting hand, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Ooh, Legionary.
Well, I guess knowing that your opponent was going to Legionary you, maybe top decking Diplomat would have been better.
I feel like Bob could have maybe benefited from getting Legionary at some point. Although, maybe not actually. Starboy has quite a lot of diplomats. So it might actually help them.
I could imagine getting Legionary here. Um, it's more money than usual, and draw is not super easy to come by. Is there? No, there's no win here. They don't have enough buys for that.
No. I would take double
This
province
is
here.
looking non-trivial again. I think the end of that, not last turn, but the turn before, really put Bob in a much worse spot than they needed to be when they top decked a bunch of junk and gained extra golds. That was the main reason they dudded the following turn, and then are seeing the consequence of that. Okay, so triple province would be enough to. Actually,
I can't believe they discarded
not
this in their
exactly enough.
hand.
Triple province will probably be enough to win here, provided you like mine a copper into a silver or something. I'm not sure they're hitting 24. We'll find out.
Do they have 24 in deck? I'm
I
skeptical.
don't know.
I guess you count could be +4.
I I'm skeptical of the frequency with which they reduce their hand size with rustic villages. Obviously, the upside is getting to make your diplomat a village, but I'd rather just draw into cards that you have to play, like Druid or Count, play those and then play your diplomat. Not drawing your deck is a pretty big downside. Like, what did you just top deck? Probably a bunch of junk. And now, if you even get another turn, there's a good chance that'll be a dud hand. This don't look like 24, 9, 16. It's not too far off.
I think there's one lackeys on
11,
top,
17. They
but
could
also
get to as much as
junk.
20 money here. Absolutely buying a lackey seems mandatory here.
Yeah,
So 3 duchies and a lackeys maybe.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that there's a lackeys in those 3. I don't
Actually,
know what
no,
the other 2
I'm
are.
going to say 3 duchies is a mistake. If you're not willing to buy the penultimate province because you don't want to leave provinces at 2, that's 16 money. Why are you leaving duchies at 3, which only takes 15 money to win? So maybe like 2 duchies, 2 lackeys or something, or 2 duchies, a lackeys, and a snowy village. They didn't buy a lackeys, and they did top deck a bunch of junk, and to no one's surprise, they have another dud turn as a result. This is the sort of situation where I feel like if you're newer to the game, you're like, man, I'm just having terrible draws this game, not realizing that it is your own decisions that have led you to those draws. All of Bob's duds have been very self-imposed by their rather reckless end of turn decisions.
I've definitely been there in terms of complaining about draws. I feel like the other one that I used to do quite a lot is being like, wow, how are they always finding their card on top? And then I realized that they bought like Star Chart or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how much is it going to take to win for Bob? I need to hit like 15 money or 13 plus a mine. Getting close. This is rather close. This looks like it's going to be a win. Yeah, that's a win in hand. All right. So it's about to be 1-all. The maximizing points, gaining a duchy here will be the most efficient use of count, but you can
Yeah.
get it just taking the money as well. Okay.
Yeah, I think Bob played better in the early game, and then the mid game was a bit less clear, but they managed to hold on.
Bob got the count first, which I think put him in the lead, and then Bob was not considering what discarding and then redrawing stuff does to your following hand, or the value of having, say, a bunch of villagers to kick off your turn in case you find a draw card but no villages. Without those duds, I think it would have stayed in Bob's favor longer.
This board looks pretty horrible. I would 100% be opening Sea Witch, either with the 5/2 or with Fairy.
Yeah, interesting. Bob trashes an estate and then gains a broker. If you really wanted the broker, I wonder if trashing copper makes more sense. But yeah, I like the plan of just opening with a Sea Witch and then buying another Sea Witch. Curses are not easy to trash here.
Mm-hmm.
Best trasher probably just is broker gaining favors.
Yeah, brokering
And
Trail is going to be pretty nice, as is Sea Witch discarding Trail.
yeah, broker will be a good card here. Uh, Okay, StarBoy buys a sleigh for 2. Yeah, that's probably better than nothing. And this is pretty much what you want to see, I think, for player 2, is you found your Sea Witch on top, you played it turn 3, you hit 5, you bought a second Sea Witch, you're going to trigger a shuffle, and now you just get stuck in this virtuous cycle of constantly playing Sea Witches. That's
Mm.
going to be hard to come back from.
I'm not sure about
So Bob
Monkey and the
finds the
Broker.
broker with 4 coppers, which I
Did you?
think is a predictable consequence of trashing an estate and then buying an estate trasher.
Yeah, but I still much prefer trashing a copper and then like you still have 3 for the Sea Witch. Um,
Yeah, I think you could just trash an estate if you were planning to open with the Sea Witch, um, and then plan to trash much later after you've given out all the curses. Like, I think a reasonable game plan here is just click Sea Witch a bunch, add some trails, which will be villages when Sea Witch discards them, then throw a broker into your deck once the curses are empty, broker a trail for a bunch of favors, and get like 1 or 2 mass trashes off from a peaceful cult.
that sounds like a very good plan. I'm assuming we don't touch Scrying Pool here. Doesn't look like it's
Probably
going to be that good.
not. It's one of those cards that like would be a very good card to have in your deck, but there's stuff that you got to accomplish ASAP, namely not losing the curse split, and it's kind of
Yeah,
hard to fit a potion in there. And then once you got a bunch of Sea Witches, trail looks pretty easy to click on 4.
yeah, Trail's going to be nice. I don't think we need Lost City because of Trail mainly, but also I guess Villa. But I would
I
probably be
think
getting Nobles
varying
later.
the Villa pile makes a lot of sense and kind of solves the problem that Nave is talking about. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Because they, yeah, effectively cost 1. Well, it's 2, but then you obviously get 1 back. But still, 2 slays seems like a lot of slays.
I mean, looks all right here. Buy a Villa, play it. Yeah, I think just playing or buying another sleigh looks fine on it too. I don't see why you can't have as many as you want. If you ever have too many, you just buy a Villa for 1 coin, and then you can play them all. Later in the game, you can broker trails for a bunch of actions.
I'm a bit surprised that there's not been a third Sea Witch from either player. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
could
3
totally see.
seems the
Oh,
right number.
there you go. Yeah, with curses mattering a lot and trails being around, I think you could easily take more than a pair of Sea Witches here and be fine. What are you buying on 3? Who has the silver in their deck? Probably Bob? No, not Bob. I'd probably, yeah, I guess just buy a silver and then hit 3 again. You could buy a merchant in the future. In theory, Oasis synergizes with Trail, but I think any number of trails you have are probably going to have higher priority uses like discarding to Sea Witch or trashing with Broker. I
I
wouldn't plan on getting
agree.
an Oasis just for the purpose of discarding it. And what are we doing with this hand?
I wouldn't mind trashing Slay
Potentially
for
something
favors.
fancy. I was thinking of maybe something like you buy a trail, put it in hand with Slay, and then buy a villa, and then trash the trail with Broker. And then you draw a ton of cards
That also sounds very
that they end up
reasonable.
doing. They just discard a Slay to get a horse in hand. Okay, seems all right. Okay, 6 money. Trail into Slay. Maybe Fairy Trail plus buy a trail. No, I like Fairy on the Villa pile is just a good place for it to be.
Yeah, while they're in the pile for sure.
Oh, I'm not. Villa is a good card to have in the kingdom. It's not a great card to have in your deck. The Villa is best when you're buying it to save a mediocre turn or to continue a turn after gaining stuff. Having a bunch of villas in your deck is like buying coppers. Don't love doing that.
I guess
Trail?
the problem with potentially ferrying trail would be it makes broker worse. But you can obviously
Yeah,
take
that's a good point.
ferry off of it later.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered the effect of putting ferry on trail. The reason I had reneged on that suggestion was I didn't like taking the ferry off of Villa because I think that's just a really good spot for it. Like the type of hand where you're going to need a Villa is also the type where you might not have for money. Probably just buy a merchant here. Oh no, they're just going to continue their turn. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable. Yeah, too many
Though we did not
villas.
accomplish a lot as a result. Okay, with 6 money, how about a broker into Slay? Or another trail into Slay? Or just trash and buy one of the 5s? Also fine.
Mm.
Or a Villa. I'm pretty sure these are just net hurting the deck. Like, even if they cost 0, I don't think I would shove my deck full of Villas.
Wow.
I absolutely would not buy that one. Now you can't afford broker. Your main draw.
Piles are getting quite low.
Very low.
It doesn't cost much to pile slay in that you can ferry it, but you do need quite a lot of buys. Maybe
Bob has a million buys because of all these villas, but
yeah,
Bob is the
not
one who
gonna
needs to
draw
play
them.
catch up here. I think it's probably going to end on the nobles pile, given they both got fairy on that. Just by a merchant, I presume.
It seems like merchant is unlikely to do anything, but it's, yeah, it's not worse than nothing.
Yeah, it's either that or another sleigh, and you don't want to lower the sleigh pile as Bob. Your deck's not really together enough to add another silver. StarBoy looks to be in the lead on this one. Bob keeps ending up in this instant gratification scenario where they've got their sleighs and then they discard one to get that horse immediately into hand. And like, that certainly can make sense sometimes, but they're just stuck in the cycle of not having very many horses in the deck, and now their deck's very low on draw. This is a lovely starting hand, though.
Yeah,
Who knows what StarBoy's hand looks like? Apparently, a broker and a trail.
broker and a trail as well.
One copy of each. Yeah. So yeah, these decks really ought to have more trails and more brokers in them. I think that's the main synergy leader in the game, especially more trails. This is +5 cards here.
Yeah, it's got to be for draw
Hard to beat
at
that.
this stage.
Non-terminal. It's like you played a hunting grounds with lost arts on it. Or you played 4 laboratories. No, 3 laboratories. Okay, 7 money. Gotta be careful about touching nobles here. If your opponent hits 8, they would win if you buy a nobles. Uh,
I don't see many other great options though.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure what you do click here. Possibly the correct answer is just like buy that nobles, hope that they dud, and then plan to pile it in response if they do. They're buying Fairy. I question that.
Yeah, I don't know where we're moving
To
to
broker. It's a
broker.
little late for that. I mean, earlier in the game, that would have made a lot of sense. I think that was the natural step 2 after the Sea Witches. But now you've taken Fairy off of the key pile that you need to pile out, and it will not matter because Starboy
Oh,
has the win. Oh, wait, what? What did you just do? You had the win. You clicked 1 Nobles. You were 1 click away from winning. And you bought a Lost City instead? I sure hope that Bob wins now. Unfortunately, Bob has just taken the Fairy off of the Nobles. and they wouldn't have had enough anyway. It would have cost them 12 to win.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they got to take province, but oh,
Or you could just commit suicide.
both players missing the 3 pile, I assume.
I would have. I mean, you were very likely to lose there, Bob, obviously. But okay, they just didn't realize that they were. I thought they were like resigning in fashion by piling out on themselves. They just didn't realize it was a three pile in the first place. Okay, 2-1 for StarBoy.
Oh, Kitsune Ninja, Jesus.
This looks painful. And with sickness as the whatever you
Yeah.
call them, the prophecy. So
Church Ninja seems pretty good. Church Borrow Kitsune seems okay as well.
I think I like the Kitsune Open better. You're borrowing it kind of mitigates the danger of ninja. But yeah, just probably want a pair of churches, some Kitsune and ninja. Then you add barge to the deck. But mostly the goal is just cause pain to the opponent early.
This is such a horrible kingdom. I feel like a lot of people really don't like Kitsune and Ninja. I normally don't mind them, but this this is not sparking joy.
I do mind ninja. I'm not a fan of that one. I was just playing a kingdom earlier today. It had ninja and it had farrier. And you look at that kingdom, you're like, oh, look at all the interesting stuff I could do. Oh, wait, if I ever increase my hand size, it's just going right back down to 3 anyway. I think the much better version of the discard attack is the raider or soldier model, where if your opponent has a larger than average hand from council room or whatever else, you can get them down to 3 cards, but you got to play a bunch of cards to do it, rather than just one militia making them discard 10. And ninja's the worst of the bunch because it's just always on hand when you need it.
Yeah. So would you like it to be like Torture Discard 2 but with a cap of, because I guess the
I
torture is
think,
optional.
yeah, like I think that the ideal version is something like Soldier, where there's a cap on how low it can go. Torture's problem, I think, isn't so much to do with the choice or even the fact that it can go so low. It's just Torture is a very strong card, and it's a card that you just naturally play a bunch of. Like, even if you didn't have the attack on it, a pretty common game plan would be like get a bunch of villages and get a bunch of $5 smithies. And then if you're just attacking your opponent into oblivion, doing the thing that you're going to do anyway, that creates a game that can be very one-sided very early. Torture's effect on like a weaker terminal action or terminal stop card might be a bit better. Like if you had to go out of your like imagine if merchant ship had torture attack on it, and you have to go out of your way to play 3 merchant ships a turn to be as oppressive as a torturer attack is. Like that would be a lot more balanced, I think.
Yeah, I see your point. I guess the other one of the other like strong $5 smithy attacks would be Margrave, but then that one is like it gets worse
That
kind
one's
of the more you
nasty.
play it.
Yeah, with Margrave, you often want one Margrave, and then if there's another draw card like Barge, you'd rather your extra draw cards be the Barge rather than the Margrave, because additional Margraves are just sifting for your opponent. The card that felt closest to Margrave to me was Ghost Ship back before that got eliminated,
That predates me,
where it's
unfortunately.
oh really? So Ghost Ship was a $5 card that said +2 cards. Your opponent top decks cards to get to 3 cards in hand. So like a militia, but worse. And I think both Margrave and Ghost Ship quite had the effect of if you get to it first, it can really lock you out of hitting 5 forever. Ghost Ship is less draw for you, but top decking is a lot more painful than discarding because you're just like getting through your deck very slowly.
Yeah, yeah, especially early game.
Yeah. An early Ghost Ship was really brutal.
There's been a lot of silvers gained, which I'm not sure about.
I'm sure I don't like it. I think the correct number of silvers in this kingdom is maybe 1. I'm not even sure that's true. Like the reason for early silver is often getting to 5, but borrow gets you there just fine. And I think the most important thing here is just consistently playing all the attack cards, and silver is impeding your ability to do that.
Bob gets another Kitsune. Seems like they could have done with a barge instead of the what I'm guessing is their third Kitsune, although I haven't been tracking.
Yeah, with curses out, Barge looks like best card. Why did they discard down to... What just happened?
I don't love the cavalry buy there from Bob. We when
Yeah,
they
so
have 5.
Cavalry here is notably not actually increasing your hand size. Like, Cavalry is as much draw as a Moat or a Slay or a Faithful Hound or a Lackeys, which normally would be a draw card. Like, you could build a deck out of villages and cavalries and get somewhere. But here, the only village in the kingdom is Kitsune, which is draw negative. And if you chain together like 5 Kitsune and 5 cavalry, you'd be making 10 money out of that, but you'd be averaging a 5 card hand size. You wouldn't have increased your hand at all. Kitsune plus Barge is at least increasing your hand size by 1. So I could see buying cavalry circumstantially, like if in this particular hand I really need to draw 2 cards right now, and that's fine. But I wouldn't buy it because I want cavalry in my deck.
Yeah, I agree.
Notably, Kitsune plus Ninja is also just spinning your wheels in the same way, but you want to play at least 1 ninja per turn so as to be getting in an attack. And I think it is reasonable to have maybe 2 ninjas just so, in a failure case, you have a backup ninja or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Bob is not playing ninja.
Does Bob have a ninja? Oh, you mean this turn? I thought you meant like, why is
Yeah,
Bob
yeah,
not playing
yeah,
with
yeah. Like
ninjas in the deck?
that turn they.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite awkward as well. Like playing it just after church. You really would have liked to set this church aside as well.
Yeah, that is true. Uh, and just as a very general rule, there's something else that was it Bob who played the lackeys after the blessed or the rustic village.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, possibly StarBoy is making the same sorts of errors, and we'll never know because we can't see what cards are in their hand. But what are we undoing? They StarBoy's confused. If you look at the log, you can tell that they're not undoing the draw because it highlights the thing you're undoing. Um,
yeah,
Anyways, back to the previous point. Just as a very general rule, if you have cards in your hand and you're probably going to play both of them, you want to play the card that gives you more information first, and then the card that relies on you having information second for very obvious reasons. And so draw cards generally are giving you information, like what's going to be in your hand. So Ninja or Lackeys are cards you'd want to play early, whereas Church or Rustic Village offer you a choice. How many am I setting aside, or am I discarding or not? And so you play Lackeys first and then play Rustic Village, and now you have more information about what's in your hand. You can decide whether to discard, or in this case, play Ninja first and then choose what to set aside with Church. All right, yeah, to set all this aside and presumably play the Ninja.
yeah. That seems reasonable. Although I'm not sure we're shuffling next turn, so maybe it
That's
doesn't
a
really
good point.
matter.
Yeah, the reason to play the Ninja now would be, I guess another reason, I guess, is if you don't find any in your villages. Um, but you play the Ninja now because hopefully you'd be able to shuffle your deck next turn and play it again the following turn. But if they don't have any draw down there, then maybe that was over optimistic.
Yeah, I guess
Oh
if they
no, StarBoy, don't you do that. Yeah, that as with almost all kingdoms, there is no reason to ever be buying gold here. Uh, just by point of comparison, Kitsune makes you 2 money instead of 3, but it's also a village, which is an effect you need desperately in this kingdom where everything else is terminal.
yeah, Kitsune definitely seems better. I would argue merchant ship is better than gold here because there's not that much draw. Although I guess
Quite
it is
quite
a terminal.
possibly. Um,
But in any case, yeah, I would be clicking Kitsune or Barge.
yeah, I think like those are just the only cards you're clicking in this kingdom from here on out. Kitsune and Barge until you hit province.
Trash is a church. That doesn't seem correct.
How many churches do they have? I noticed that there's 6 missing from the pile.
I think both players had three. Yeah, they definitely do
Yeah,
because Bob played two and set one aside one turn.
yeah, I'm
And
I'm not sure why they. I wouldn't play that Kitsune, I don't think. All right, no, that's never mind. I forgot about the ninja. That's fine. I was gonna suggest setting it aside, but I forgot that they do have another terminal that they could play with it.
yeah, probably
Now
set
this
that
one
one
I would,
aside.
yeah, getting a little greedy here. I think set this Kitsune aside, just play the cavalry, and then you got a village next turn that you can play your next ninja with.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
All
just
right,
setting
12
aside one
money.
curse.
I'd probably set aside more. Set aside two
Although
coppers as
12
well, and you
is
can buy
like
two
province
fives.
borrow for a five, which is okay.
Or this, which is a little bit more dubious.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
do the
just quite
trick before
awkward
ninja thing
ordering
again.
again. Yeah. I don't feel like we have to score here, but I also feel like it's reasonable.
You're
Uh,
borrowing.
that's leaving. 11 is not a number that jumps out at me.
Why are we borrowing?
Oh, what?
For another cavalry, which only draws us one card because we clicked borrow. I'm somewhat confused at the moment.
Yeah, I don't mind borrow because you're gonna get injured, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter that much. But yeah, you'd want to borrow after the cavalry if you're doing that. And again, cavalry before the church.
Yep. Yeah. Now borrow is of course not strictly of no disadvantage, even if you're going to get ninja, because you'd rather have a 5 card hand and then discard down to your best 3 out of 5 than have a 4 card hand and discard down to your best 3 out of 4. Um, so there's some downside to borrowing, but the fact that you're gonna have a 3 card hand anyway certainly mitigates it.
Wow, I did not
Yeah, I think
expect a double
double province
province
looks all
tonight.
right.
Was
There are
that?
not enough barges in these decks, and too many cavalries. I
I
mean,
would.
cavalry is a very good card, but it's a lot like Villa, in that cavalry is a good card to have in the supply, so you can click it when you're desperate for it. It is not a card that you want to have a lot of in your deck if you can avoid it.
Definitely. Borrows for barge. That seems reasonable. Yeah, I guess adding a barge just before you shuffle is probably pretty good value.
Now we're clicking Barge and Kitsune, looking more correct than a moment ago. Getting somewhere. In practice, that's probably not realistically a problem, but it does just kind of bug me in principle to see Bob playing Kitsune before horse.
Yeah,
Again, going back to the overarching rule of card play order, Kitsune is a card that gives you a choice. Horse is a card that draws cards, which gives you information. Just your instincts should be telling you click the draw card first. If I know for sure I'm going to play both of these cards, I might as well play the horse, and then I'll decide what to do with the Kitsune. The reason it doesn't matter much is because once curses are out, you're almost always choosing 2 actions and 2 coins anyway. So like it's probably not going to affect you that much if you go ahead and do that early. But like, what if you want to set aside the Kitsune with on a church? Maybe that ends up being what looks best after you see what you've drawn. You never know.
For sure. I mean, like you could in theory want to church aside either of those cards. Like there might be
Mm-hmm.
situations where you would want to keep the horse, but I don't think this game is one
But
of them.
in that case, you would know before you played the horse that you were setting it aside. There'd never be a reason to play the Kitsune first and then play the horse. All right, so we're behind on points. Piles are kind of low, although these decks aren't super together. I'd be kind of weird about the cavalry pilot actually. Like if Bob just not Bob, if Starboy just starts clicking cavalry, they don't need to find enough buys because cavalry gives you a buy back, and then they're going to naturally draw a bunch of extra cards. So even if they start doing that with less than 16 money, they might draw into enough money to finish off the pile out. That's a real risk.
Yeah.
So it's probably got to be Dutchy now.
Yeah, I think Starboy seems quite a long way ahead. Although I'm not entirely sure why that is. I don't really remember what happened for a lot of this game. We're now on turn 21.
Their opening was better, wasn't it? Yeah, they open with the Kitsune, which I think is a little bit better. Uh, Not that Ninja's a bad opening. I'd say that Bob had what would be a reasonable backup, like if Borrow weren't there. Um,
I hadn't realized Bob had the 2-5, which is yeah a bit of an awkward split.
oh, in the opening?
Seems like it. They borrowed for church turn one.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh yeah, it even says at the start
Yeah, on the
borrowings.
2-5, I think borrowing for Church turn one is reasonable,
Yeah,
and
and you can
then
borrow for Kitsune turn
yeah,
two.
you still have the same option.
But definitely worse than the 5-2 because you
Yeah, you're top decking extra, which is a little bit worse. What did Starboy do last turn? So Starboy missed a win. They clearly had 16 money because they bought 2 provinces, and there's a pile here that costs 16, and they seem not to have noticed that that would be a win.
doesn't seem like
It's
it's
gonna
going
be a
to.
win anyway. Yeah, just they're they're doing it the hard and slow way.
Psychological warfare.
The Bomb deck is finally getting somewhere, but a little bit too little, too late. So we're behind by 24 points. The province is only 6 points, so they need to get all remaining duchies plus the province. Don't think that's gonna happen.
For sure not this turn.
I imagine for sure Starboy could just pass a turn here and be fine. Probably 2 turns, though that's less clear.
Yeah, you can't really lower Dutchy as much as Bob either because
Yeah, just
so you kind of
stuck in
need
a
to
rock and a
get the
hard
rest of the
place.
points in one turn.
Starboy should just buy an estate here. That silver is not helping your deck. An estate could matter just in case your opponent hits 18. You want to deny them the possibility of tying the game. Stop playing your Kitsune before your horse. It's bad manners.
You're just getting more and more triggered every time.
I am. Okay, so Starboy needs to somehow fail to hit 4 here. Could it happen? Who's to say what those cards are?
I enjoyed the church play before horse again, and not even saying anything as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know why they played the horse or the church at the start of that turn. Okay, 3-1 for StarBoy.
And that was their start, wasn't it? Yeah.
So Bob will need to win both of the remaining 2 to stay in the match.
Ooh, we
Ooh.
have Page, Pixie.
Unfortunately for Bob, they have their goat in the worst hand. I would love to just buy Page and Exorcist or Page and Research as an open. Which you can do anyway, but both of those cards would rather you trash the coppers with the goat and then the estates with the $4 card.
Yeah. So you'd be trashing Copper with Goat first shuffle.
Yeah, if the goat were in the $3 hand, I would trash the copper in a heartbeat. Um,
Yeah, I can
I
get
think
behind
probably
that.
the correct move in this case is just trash an estate anyway, and you're a little bit sad. Um,
And I think Exo over Research.
I would just click Exorcist on principle because it's the more fun card.
Oh yeah, you do love Exorcist.
It's a great card. I just had a kingdom recently where Tomb was in the kingdom, and the game plan was just play like 4 Exorcists a turn, and that was the main way you were scoring. Great kingdom.
This is definitely the upside for Research, where you get to trigger the shuffle with Treasure Hunter in it. Like that's a very good turn 3 for Bob.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, research could plausibly be better here for sure. There's a lot of good 2s, which is a case in favor of adding Wisp to your deck. But also tempo matters a lot, and research is drawing you cards immediately. I
Counterfeit
question
here.
trashing the estate. 6, there's no reason you need to hit 6 here. There's nothing that costs 6 that you can buy in this kingdom. And your research would rather trash that estate. Yeah, I think counterfeit looks good.
There's also a potential fun Treasure Hunter thing where if you gain a bunch of silvers, you can receive tribute, and take
Yeah,
potentially a golem.
that's a good point. That is fun. Yeah, Golem is a terrible card, but one of the main reasons it's terrible is the potion cost. So you can get it for free off of something like Receive Tribute,
Ooh,
it starts to look
Trash's
playable.
Goat. I guess that's
I think that's
yeah,
all
that's
right,
reasonable.
actually.
Yeah,
You're already pretty thin, and it's drawing you cards in the short term, which is what you care
and we
about in a
have
Page
counterfeit.
Kingdom.
Yeah, I take my
Yeah,
my surprise back. Oh, can we hit 5? No, we could have. Oh, we could have done it. Man, I can't believe that.
I missed out on the opportunity. Um, IPSB is pointing out they got a lot of pages, which yeah, I think is probably wrong. I think a second or third page can often be good. It's insurance in case the first one gets trashed, and then the second one up the line can be a hero or a warrior or whatever else you need. But here, A, there's Pixie, which is a great alternative to cost to be clicking if you don't really need a page. And then B, there's a lot of gains going around. You don't want to have a million silvers in your deck if you don't have to. So I think after the second page, Pixie starts to look pretty clearly better.
Mm. They did pick up an Exorcist though, so maybe they're thinking
I'm not sure what the
turning
best
silvers
play is
into
here. They're
imps.
gonna, I presume, trash 2 coppers and buy a Pixie, which looks pretty reasonable. I think you could also consider just trashing the Exorcist for a bunch of draw. Might be better. They trashed the silver to gain an imp. I think I probably would have trashed copper and gained a Pixie. There's a lot of contexts where trashing silver over copper with Exorcist looks better. Here, I think the fact that the silver would let you buy a thing is a good case for doing it the other way around.
I agree, but I do think that the reason they bought Exorcist was to trash silvers into imps. So when that came up, I was expecting that to happen.
I question the second counterfeit. How many treasures do you need to trash?
Well, it's the plus buy as well. You might want 3 buys.
That's a good point. Maybe they need the buys.
And they gained it off Hero, didn't they? Or did someone buy a second
Yeah,
counterfeit? Oh, Starboy bought one as
it,
well.
it, it was off the hero, with the one I was talking about at least. I got 5. A third counterfeit. I guess they're just planning to gain a bunch of silvers off of their treasure hunter. Don't. It's not gonna matter But once again, there's just no reason to be playing Treasure Hunter before Page. Play the card that draws you cards first, then figure out what else you're doing with your turn. Do you even need champion here? That's a good question.
I quite like it.
It blocks the warrior attack, which could matter.
Yeah, I
It
think
makes
the
all the
warrior is
imps
important.
draw cards. I think there could be a good case for maybe delaying champion a turn or two and just sticking on hero for a minute. Like if you don't need the champion in the short term. I think that, especially given how many pages they're clicking, there probably comes a point where you need to turn it into a champion at some stage.
I would quite like Pixie Tribute there.
A
I think
receive tribute is just a good bit of value. I mean, they do have a research in play, but you can still gain Golem and Plaza and a Pixie or something. Probably Cursed Village is bad at this stage.
yeah.
That is an
Quite
early
early.
province.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Uh,
This is a lot of research.
I think the Guardian makes sense. I mean, look at this. Wait, why did they play Warrior before Page? What are you doing? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter so much when you have the Guardian in play. I take it back. Um,
What were you
the
researching here? I would have preferred to EXO the research.
that looks pretty good.
I mean, it seems clear that we don't want to trash any of these cards. Apparently not. Oh, counterfeit silver. Hmm.
Interesting.
Are you really going for the page? I think
They
receive
could click
tribute.
receive tribute here
Yeah.
still.
Oh my god.
Okay, they bought a cursed village, which I'm not really sure that you want in the first place. You've got a hand size that's over 5, so it's never going to draw you any cards. And you've got a champion in play, so you never need the actions. And it comes with a hex. But even supposing you wanted a cursed village, there's a thing right next to cursed village that also costs 5 and gives you a free cursed village alongside 2 other cards. Why are you setting aside? You could have just drawn
Yeah.
those. Why are you playing the cursed village? You could have trashed that.
It could be an imp.
I'm
And I don't love trashing the silvers. I guess it's okay. We do have quite a lot of them.
Look at this exorcist doing nothing when you had a card that you played to do nothing that could have been turned into a better card.
It's tough to admit that your Cursed Village buy was that bad that you should immediately trash it before playing it once.
I mean, maybe that could have been the game plan. Maybe the goal of buying it was to turn it into an imp. Who's to say? So whatever is in StarBoy's hand, they didn't like it, and they were willing to pop a pixie to find something better. C's gift probably pretty good.
Eesh.
Mini a silver. You're trashing a gold.
Keeping the goat.
It's hard to say without knowing what's in their hand, but that didn't seem like the optimal play there.
Well,
That's a
especially
lot. That's a lot of silvers you just gained.
yeah. I don't think there's any need for them to have got extra money off trashing the gold to buy Duchy.
Oh my goodness, look at this cursed village. It's gonna draw cards, potentially multiple cards. You could research this treasure hunter first, then your cursed village draws a bunch. Or you could play the treasure hunter first, which seems worse to me.
Yeah. I think knowing that this is possibly your last turn, there's
Yeah, you
not
want to draw
much
as many
point in
cards as
research.
possible. Just don't look like
Yeah.
enough. Now you gotta hope your opponent duds.
So trash research, I assume,
You
before
research the
playing Treasure
research
Hunter.
and buy 2 duchies. You trash silver but not treasure hunter, you have enough for double duchy. Or sorry, silver but not counterfeit, I mean.
Yep.
Okay, so well, depending on whether
Starboy
StarBoy
has
duds. The
a
problem is
lot of
like the
silvers.
typical yeah, the typical dud here is like hitting 8 because your hand is full of silvers. It's not missing province. It's missing out on double province. All right, so I believe that clinches the victory for Starboy.
It does. Well played, Starboy. That one was a weird one as well. I thought Bob was doing quite well there, and then somehow wasn't.
I once again, I think Bob got something going and then was making some suboptimal decisions once they got to the end of their deck. In this case, not so much like creating poor shuffles, but not maximizing the value of the exorcist and research and whatever else each turn.
Yeah, yeah, I think that is probably the case. But yeah, thank you for commentating with me, and good luck
Alrighty,
to
that's
both
the match.
players if they're playing in F next season. Thank you. See ya.